Here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Another episode of the Average Money Podcast. We've been streaming YouTube for pretty much an hour, and we've tried to press record a bunch of times. We love what the YouTube chat has been doing, and it's growing. And Brian Hunt is blowing up the super chat as usual, guys. Thanks so much. Tonight, we are talking about things that are just coming up in our everyday life, right? This was not something that we scripted. We are going to talk real estate today. And I think the best episodes that we've ever had were episodes that just happened in our life, because we don't have to script anything. We don't have to bullet point anything. We can teach from experience. And today I want to dive in. This is going to be a JJ episode. I'm diving in. He knows so much more about the back end of real estate and the back end of the different ways you can invest in real estate. It's kind of like inspiring to watch sometimes now that I'm like in his inner circle. If this is your first time on the podcast, my name is Brad Finn. I am joined with the still recovering from the COVID virus while being vaccinated, JJ Buckner. How we doing, bud? How we feeling? Thank you so much for getting on. We couldn't get on last week, family first, and you've been quarantining up. You've been up in that loft for a very, very long time.
Dude, it's I'll tell you what, man, that was a little scary. I had 2 bad nights with the whole COVID situation, and the second of the 2 was like I thought I was gonna die. I mean, my body was shaking. I had, above 100-degree temperature, had body aches. And, oh, my gosh, dude, I couldn't, this is kind of maybe a little embarrassing to say, but I was laying down, and I was literally, groaning, moaning to myself, I couldn't sit still. My body hurt so bad. I was, curled up, but I had to, keep moving because I couldn't get the pain away. Dude, it was horrible.
It's like when you're a little kid and you moan because you want somebody to hear you and come see if you're okay. But you're just like,
I'm a grown man. Yes.
Lindsay's like, are you okay?
No, I'm
not. Do you need me to rub your back or something?
That's the thing, though. I was by myself. I'm just suffering in silence.
We also are not joking about getting COVID. It's serious. But
very much.
We're thankful that you've had a somewhat acceptable experience, probably due to the fact that you got the vaccine a little bit.
You know what, though, dude? I'll say this. I really do think it was because I'm vaccinated. My wife's in healthcare, and I think that from what she's been telling me and from what I've researched, just from doing everything, I think, I hate how political this has gotten. I hate how
which is why we can't really, I'm going to pretty much nip this in the bud after this, because we don't want to get political.
No,
and
we don't.
It's not, but it's a shame, because this is stuff that comes up in life. This has affected your business. This has affected how many videos you can make. This has affected this podcast. And it is a part of being but just we're not debating on getting vaccinated or not. I'm saying that, yes, you can still get sick if you've been vaccinated, whether you believe it or not, or think it doesn't matter. According to what the science is saying and what we read in the media, for what it's worth, your case could have been a lot worse if you had not gotten vaccinated.
And I did read a couple articles while I was, bedridden, about people who have gone to the hospital and ended up dying from COVID and wishing they would have got vaccinated. I've heard from my friend and from my friends, or Lindsay's friends in healthcare, because she's a nurse.
Yeah.
My wife is. And she said that most people, it's 99% of the people that are in the hospital due to COVID is because they don't have the vaccine. And again, guys, this is not, I have freaking guns on my wall. Okay. This is not getting political. I'm just speaking from experience here.
No. And I mean, I got COVID last February. So before it was public, and actually, no, 2 Februarys. Is it 2 Februarys ago now? No, it was not this past school year, but the year before that. Yeah. So
wow.
Before COVID came out, I had it in that February. Mm-hmm. I did not go to the hospital, and I was one of the early people that went and got multiple flu tests. And you don't have the flu, man. We've tested this flu. We've tested. You don't have the flu. You just feel like crap, or you're being a baby bitch.
That's right.
And then I had to go back, and because of that doctor's visit, I got to go back and I was one of the first antibody tests that they gave, and I tested positive for the antibodies. Jeez. But yeah, I'm not saying if you're not vaccinated, you're going to go to the hospital. I didn't go to the hospital when I had COVID.
Yeah.
But no, I think the long story short is it's good that you're doing good, and that your family's doing good too. So what, when you get it, right? Because when I had it, my wife and I had it almost the same time, like a couple days apart.
That's exactly what
And
Lindsay and I are doing right
and
now.
we weren't like sending my baby somewhere else. So like you guys stayed home, right? It's like everyone, the whole house had to quarantine, and then you kind of quarantined from them.
So I quarantined when I was sick by myself, and now, I mean, just being in the same home. So I actually think I got it from the kids, because the kids were over at my in-laws. The in-laws ended up having COVID while the kids were over there. We didn't know that. No one did. Kids came home. Mason felt sick. I felt sick a couple days later. So we think we just passed it along to everyone. Lindsay got it a couple days after I did. So this whole household has had it.
Right.
So it's just been one of those things. We've just kind of been, we haven't gone anywhere. I mean, we've literally stayed home. We have had a couple people drop some stuff off on our porch. It's just kind of like here you go, get through quarantine type thing. So it's our quarantine's up
Dude,
in
but it's
a couple days, I think.
crazy how the time has evolved. When your daughter was born, I wanted to send you a care package, and you were like, I appreciate it, but I don't even want you sending me mail, dude.
Yeah. Well, that was because she was born March
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
She was born at the
So in April, I was like, let me send you a care. I have a younger daughter. I have all these clothes. And you were like, I don't want to be a dick. Because we didn't know. You're like, I don't know what's going on with this COVID thing, but do not send me mail.
Yep.
But I still have stuff for your daughter now because, I mean, it's a little bit older, and I've sterilized them all. But let's dive into, because the silver lining, the reason why I bring this COVID up, we're staying positive. We're always being kind to others. We're working really hard. You got a contract accepted. And I've had people ask me, because you post all of your stuff publicly, people have been congratulating me on my DM.
Dude,
like,
hang on.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I'm like, that's just JJ's. And they're like, wait, like he gets to pick and choose? Like what deal is his and what deal is your guys? And I'm like, funny thing, because you are always fully honest with me. You call me up before you do anything. And I keep telling you, like, dude, what you do with your wife is what you do with your wife. And he was like, I just want to make sure we're cool, because I'm going to be going through with this. But people have been like, congrats on the first real estate property.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say is every, like when I posted on Twitter and Instagram, I get messages and they're like, oh, is this with Brad too? And I'm like, oh, nope, not with Brad's. We're still looking for
the ones with Brad don't work out. The ones with Brad
they never work out. Yeah. No. So, I mean, well, that's the thing though, dude. Like, I mean, you and I are business partners. So you're the first business partner I've ever had. I guess, well, you can edit this out if you want. I was going to say, I guess you popped my business cherry partnership.
No, it's fine. Wouldn't be the first cherry I popped. I'm editing that out. I'm editing that out. That's coming out. That's coming out. That's just coming out. I'm sorry. I'm just an Italian. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was too fun. Okay. No, seriously though, man. Like, we're practically married. We are, we own a business together. We're making money together. So everything I do,
share money.
We do. We share money, and which is a very touchy subject for a lot of people. Luckily, you and I being in the space that we're in and having the understanding of money that we do, I kind of know, but we also know each other pretty well.
Yes.
I don't know. It's hard to explain, but no, man.
No, because we can have good conversations. Because when yesterday you were like, we were talking about YouTube, and you're like, oh, this fucking my views, and I'm like, hey, at least you're not bag holding Vuzi at 17, and it's in the FIDO portfolio, and you're like, actually, I am.
Yeah, no, seriously though, dude. I mean, no, it's just one of those things, man, where I like laying everything out on the table. And I do that in my own personal business with Buckner Media too. Is just like when I'm talking to somebody about a deal or about whatever, I don't ever try to hide anything, because I feel like it's a lot easier to get everything laid out on the table and then, kind of work with it from there. But so no, I mean, this is Lindsay and I's deal. And kind of what Brad and I's thoughts were is for our real estate deal with the podcast. So we got a decent amount of cash, in the bank, and we're looking to jump right in on a bigger deal. Duplex, triplex, fourplex, a little bit more expensive, some more money down that's needed up front, to where Lindsay, my wife, and I, we're looking to just kind of scoop up small little single family homes, cash flow $150 a month, and just kind of leave it at that. And this isn't even a single family home. This is a townhouse. This is like a condo. You know what I mean? It's part of a fourplex. So we saw this deal pop up, and I have JJ and Brad's criteria, and then I have JJ and Lindsay's criteria. And then Lindsay and I probably have one more small little deal we could probably do, and then we're going to be capped out.
Mhm.
And then it's going to be starting to like pay down some of those mortgages, because that's just kind of how I am as an investor. I don't want to get too
Yeah.
leveraged. I don't want to get too over leveraged at all,
We
especially
talk
being
about
in
that a
this.
lot because that's not, there's a couple of things in the chat that I want to get to after I say this, but there's not a lot of real estate investors that are as conservative as far as like their leverage and their debt to equity that you are. Would you consider yourself more on the conservative side? Like, I know Bryce is in here. Probably the thought of hearing you paying down the mortgage on a real estate investment, I have a feeling makes a guy like Bryce makes his skin crawl.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. But no, I mean, I'm definitely more conservative when it comes to being, leveraged with property, and
Right.
that's just kind of the guy I am, man. Like I said this in my video I put on my YouTube channel, like I'm not looking to build a massive, massive, massive real estate portfolio. I'm not looking to build a real estate empire. That's not who I am. I'm looking to be just the I want this is the, I'll paint this picture for you guys right now who are listening. I want to be the guy that's like living in the decent home, in a small town, suburbia America, and I want to have payments coming in once a month. That's like $4,000 or so. Let's call it that. If I have $4,000 coming in after taxes, everything's said and done, that's $4,000 that I get to choose to do whatever I want with. I can live a very, very good life where I live currently. So if I
Mhm.
can build my rental properties up to pay me $4,000 a month, then I'm happy. On top of that, having most of those mortgages being paid off, knowing that that risk is completely gone, that's going to make me sleep even better at night, because I
Right.
know that risk is completely gone because those mortgages are paid off. So let's say for some crazy reason all of my tenants, I don't know, stop paying rent all at once. Lindsay and I have always told ourselves that we want to be able to pay all of our mortgages at the same time that we own currently without having anyone pay us rent. So think about that for a second. Like, for a lot of investors out there, do you think a lot of investors could, if let's say they have 20 homes, all of them are leveraged, and then all 20 tenants stop paying? Now, the likelihood of that happening is very small, but that's also the kind of guy I am. I'm just like, I know deep down in my soul, like I will feel better knowing that these properties are paid off. So that's kind of like, I don't know, that's kind of what our game plan is, I guess, is just to get a certain amount of properties purchased, start paying some of them off, and it would make me feel it made me feel safer, I guess. Like you said, I'm a more conservative type of investor.
Well, the same with like any type of income. Like, you don't work to make tons of money. You work to sustain a certain lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And you also don't need to own millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of properties so you can go around bragging to your friends that you have all this real estate empire. You literally just are looking for enough to get you there. Now, there's a question in the chat that I want to ask. I've never heard of this, so maybe you don't. We can ask Dave to maybe dive a little bit deeper. But he said, do you ever think of the 10-10-10 rule of real estate investing at all? And if not, what is a good percent to put down, percent interest, and how much under market probably doesn't matter in these days? Now, I do want to talk numbers. First, do you know what the 10-10-10 rule is?
I don't.
Because if not, all right, so we'll ask him maybe if he can just dive a little deeper into what that is. But can we first talk about your first real estate property? Because obviously there's a new one. So that we're going to talk about the new one and all the numbers and the things that I want to talk about in this episode, as far as what are you looking at that most people don't think of? But can you just give like a brief overview on your first one, how you got it, what you learned from getting the first one, like some metrics and things you looked at then that maybe like, how has that, because it's over a year old or so,
It's like
what have
2
you
years
learned from
now.
that experience? 2 years. Yeah. What have you, how were you when you first got into that? And how are you now going into your second one?
Nervous as shit.
Were you nervous on the first one?
I was, man, because like it was one of those things. Okay, I've been wanting to invest in real estate since like 2015. Lindsay and I have had a lot of family changes. We had a kid. We were moving from different cities. A lot of changes happened from 2015 to 2019. Which 2019 was whenever I purchased my first property. So between 2015 2019, like I mentioned, moved to different major cities. Had a baby, major job changes, just so many things going on in life that I was like, I cannot think about putting a rental property in this picture right now because life was so hectic. We moved to Hawaii for a year, like just so many different things going on in our lifetime that like thinking about handling a rental property was kind of like out of the picture, even though I was constantly learning about them. I was constantly listening to podcasts, reading books, reading blog posts, trying to just submerge myself with as much information as I could to know, saying, okay, future JJ, there's going to be a point in time where I know I'm going to want to invest in real estate. I want to
Right.
make sure that I am 100% set up to buy this property when I'm ready. And
Mhm.
then, fast forward to 2019, I'm still nervous as shit. Even though I do feel very comfortable with my position, my knowledge in the real estate space, even though I've never owned a rental property in my life, I
Right.
still felt very comfortable. So the reason I say I was so nervous is because I think it's just that's what happens when any time someone does something new. If you move to like so for instance, I moved to a new high school whenever I was a sophomore. And that's a big deal,
Yeah.
moving to a brand new high school, being the new guy, and I didn't know a single soul, dude. I was about to shit my pants when I went into my first day of high school. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? I was still like the kind of the younger kid. There's still juniors and seniors above me. Like that was a big deal for me, which I think honestly though, like it really was a pivotal point in my life to kind of handle that stress. It was kind of like it taught me at a young age to say like, hey, things are going to happen. You're just going to have to roll with it. So that's kind of the mindset I had with real estate. It was like, okay, this is a big deal. I'm putting a lot of money, my own personal money down. It was like 30 something $1,000 I was putting down to purchase this rental property. I'm like, well, what happens if it doesn't go right? Well, what happens if the tenants completely trash my property? Well, what happens if tenants don't pay their, rent on time? Well, what happens, just so many things, dude, run through your mind. And you hear all these horror stories about real estate. You hear everything that's going to go wrong, but you never hear the good parts unless you're trying to teach yourself about it. You always hear the bad parts. And to be honest, I think there's a lot more majority of good parts than there are bad parts. It's all about how you manage it. It's all about how you could put the people in there.
Were you two things I want to ask?
Go ahead.
First, Brett said too many investors have a door goal. Like I have this many doors. I'd rather have fewer doors and make more. I think you first and foremost, your goals are more money oriented than like saying
Absolutely.
how many doors you have. Were you naive to anything in your first one that now you focus on more? Like, was there anything you missed in your first deal that a year or two in you started saying, okay, and this is all from a buy and hold perspective. You're not a flipper.
Yeah.
From a buy and hold perspective, was there anything that you missed?
Um,
Or was just the fact that like being nervous, was that the only thing that you were really naive to? You were like almost too dumb to be nervous about it in the first one because it was the first try.
that was it, man. It was just being
Yeah.
nervous. That's all it was. Cause like I said, I spent 4 years. I spent
Right.
the, I spent the time some people go to college to earn a degree, learning everything I could about real estate without
Okay.
any actually like hands-on experience, like being out in the field, in the trenches.
Yeah.
I was reading the books. I was listening to everything I could. I was trying to literally submerge, like I said, submerge myself with knowledge from real estate. Sorry, COVID cough. But the fact of that is, it's it's really comes down to getting over those nerves and just knowing like
Right.
there comes a point in time where I have to just say, I'm gonna take this risk. I'm just gonna do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it, and that's what's really gonna make me learn. That's what's really gonna teach me. I can learn so much from reading books, but actually buying a property and doing the deal, that's where I'm really gonna have that like kind of heads up of like, okay, now I'm in this. Let's go.
So Dave broke down the 10-10-10 thing a little bit. He said, make no more than 10% down payment, pay no more than 10% interest, and buy at least 10% below market value. Well, I know the below market value is hard. He says he's been doing a lot of research, and that's something that's come across a lot.
So the only issue with that is you cannot take out a loan that is 20% or under. And right now it's even getting more than that because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have, I may have mispronounced those, but um, they have
Fannie Mae
now,
and Freddie Mac. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, they have actually upped it to where now on most of these investment property loans you take out, they need 25% down. So like
that's if you're borrowing money from a bank though, JJ, right?
correct.
And we're not talking hard money because he might be saying, like that 10% down payment might be points. And then that 10% interest might be what that hard money lender is loaning you, right? Like there's many places to get money. Maybe that, I don't know if that's going to go farther out than what we wanted to talk about tonight, but there's more than one way to get money than from just a bank.
True. But if
that's one way to invest in real estate. That was me. I invested hard money.
But hard money is not for a long-term rental property.
No.
Because the interest rates on those are sky high. Because
I lent the money to a flipper.
That's what I mean. I don't go buy a rental property using hard money loans. You won't make money.
Unless you're flipping, right?
Yeah, unless you're flipping. So the 10% down, that's a tough one because, I mean, honestly, anytime you go to borrow money from a bank, you're going to have to do something. The only scenario I can think of off the top of my head right now without doing more research is if you could get seller financing.
Yeah.
If you're buying from someone who has a paid off mortgage and it's maybe it's a big apartment complex or maybe it's just a simple like little multifamily unit, 3-plex, 4-plex.
I'm familiar with that. Can you explain that quickly? Just what owner financing is, because it's great.
Oh, it is. It's amazing.
It's a diamond in the rough, but it's great.
Yeah, I would love to find something like that. I mean, real simply in layman's terms, it's the owner of the building that you would be buying it from. So the seller of the property, you're the buyer buying the property as an investment property. You will technically, the seller will be the bank. So they own the property free and clear, right?
Right.
So instead of you getting a loan and going through the process and doing an appraisal and all these things and getting your tax forms, la-di-da-di-da, you may have to show some proof of funds and proof of payments and pay stubs or whatever to the seller. But the seller may be looking for some like just extra little income, and they may not need the cash right up front. And they'll say, yeah, I'll loan it. I'll loan this to you. You've got to write up a contract, and then you say, okay, I'm going to pay you so much interest rate, and then you guys can figure the math out and figure out how much payments are going to be, and then
it's almost like a lease to buy. I feel like the way it got explained to me is the guy was like, say Mrs. Betty from down the road, her husband just passed away, and it's a really sad event, but they're in their 80s. A year later, she's looking to go down to Florida. She's trying to sell her house. She doesn't need the money from the house. You go to Betty, you've been her neighbor, and you say, hey, Betty, I'm going to give you $60,000 to $100,000. And this is New York money. We're talking $60,000 to $100,000 to go get yourself into Florida. And then every single month, I'm going to pay you like a job. I'm going to pay you this amount of interest and this amount of principal until we get to a certain time. And then at the end of that term, I'm going to own that house from you. And you are going to be the bank, and you're going to make money on this house, not right now on the sale, but over time through interest. And for your time, I'm going to give you the down payment instead of the bank, right? That's owner financing.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot. Like I said, it happens a lot with people that have a paid off mortgage. It happens with older people a lot, but that's just one great way to do it.
Absolutely. Yep. So it just all depends on, the seller you're using, how they want to finance everything, how much money they want down. And I've talked to banks where they can offer lower down payments. But the problem with that is their interest rates are a lot higher, right. Or I have to buy points and everything else. And when it comes down to everything, you can try to make the deal as sexy as you want, putting down as the least amount of money as possible. But again, this comes back to me being more conservative. I like doing things the easy way. I like doing things the way that is going to set it up to be middle of the road interest payment, middle of the road down payment, get everything set up how it's supposed to be. I'm not looking to really make too big, crazy jumps and have something go wrong, or, maybe it does go right, but I had to do a bunch of stuff. It's just one of those things where, like, I know I'm going to do my 25% down. I'm not buying expensive, large properties here. So that's what works for me.
Bryce said, find a lender that keeps loans in-house. I'm closing on a property now with only 10% down. So Bryce, I'm curious what you mean by that when you say find it that keeps it in-house. So is this, say this bank already has the mortgage on that property, and now you say, I'm going to take on the mortgage on that property with you guys as well, and maybe they help you out with that? I think is
My
that what you
guess
meant, Bryce?
so my guess is Bryce is probably using like a credit union or some small local bank. Um, that would probably be my guess, and it's probably I would maybe guess also it's a commercial loan, so you can do commercial loans, but also the interest rates are a little higher. So it just all depends on the deal. It
You,
just because my so for instance, my first loan was an in-house loan. They don't sell it, they don't sell it to anyone like that. They don't sell it to a different bank or whatever. It stays in-house.
he says
Um,
these banks don't sell to Fannie and Freddie.
yep,
They carry the
exactly.
loan themselves. Yeah, credit unions. Yeah.
Yep. So,
So
um,
there's more that you definitely have to think to, but
but the bank I
I
used though that kept the bank in-house was still a
right.
bank that needed 20 to 25% down. So the credit union may be something a little different. You may have a little higher interest rate to get the 10% down, but it just kind of depends on whatever you can find out there for lending purposes.
And just for anybody like that's me, that's a super noob. Like there is a difference between the down payment requirement on a single family, like primary residence and a real estate property. So we're
Mhm.
not talking FHA loans and things like that. That's why we're talking about that. But yeah, Bryce said, yep, a small credit union, great
Yeah.
things. But I'm curious if there's a lot of people in the chat that are talking about the numbers that you look at. I know that you have a spreadsheet, um, which has how many criteria on it, maybe like 10 to 15 different things. And
Yeah.
some of those I don't necessarily, I know what they are, but if you and selfishly, I'm curious because I want to understand your spreadsheet
Yeah.
more. Could you run through the items on that spreadsheet and kind of explain what they are? For example, I know what CapEx is, but I don't necessarily know what it means.
Yeah.
And one thing I've always wanted to ask you about that is, do you have to know as a real estate agent, as a real estate investor, the typical longevity of certain major appliances? Like, do you know how long a standard roof lasts? Do you know how long the current, like a standard oil burner should last, AC unit, all of these major things that CapEx go to? Is that something, if you're learning or trying to become a real estate investor, these are things that you should know about?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps, dude. Like if you like for instance, this unit I just purchased that I'm under contract for right now, it still has all original um uh AC unit, water heater, everything like that. It was built in 2000. So it's 21 years old. It's starting to get a little old. It is. So you got to know and it's also kind of depends on a certain market you're in too. If you're
Yeah.
way down south, AC units probably aren't going to last as long as if you're up in Minneapolis or whatever it may be. So you just got to kind of know
I
your
run mine
market.
for 2 months. Yeah, I run mine for 2 months a year, 3 months
Yeah,
maybe.
see, we and just in Missouri, we run ours from probably April to sometimes even maybe October, November. And then we'll
Yeah.
have random times where we'll just have to kick it on. But
Mhm.
so that's a good question. You definitely have to have a decent understanding. I'm not saying that you can't buy a property because you don't know how long an AC unit's going to last. I'm not saying that, but just kind of get an idea because it's not that hard to figure out. Just do a Google search. How long does AC units last? How long does a roof last? You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
not
yeah.
that hard. Like this stuff is pretty easy
And
once
you're
you.
going to get an inspection too. And that inspector should have the inspector should be able to be like, yo, dude, you got like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like when you go to get your oil change and they're like, you need new brakes and you
So
need new tires. The inspector's going to be like, you're going to be looking at some sort of,
a great
roof.
A great point, Brad. I'm so glad you said that. This is probably something I've lived by my whole life, even when I was in college and high school, is guys, do not be afraid to ask questions. If you aren't for sure about something, if you don't have a full understanding, call them. Call the
Can't do it.
inspector. Call the
I can't do
realtor.
I can't do it.
You got to though, man. Like, dude, I honestly, if I don't know something, here's my thought process on this is I know that I'm going to be able to better myself knowing the answer to this question. I'm going to spend the 5, 10, 15 minutes it'll take to just have maybe a little bit of an awkward call to get my question answered. And then now that I know it, I know for next time, I know I don't have to call somebody or do whatever, or, whatever your question may be. If you're not sure, even if it's with the loan, call up your mortgage lender. Say, hey, man, I got a question about this. I saw this on the papers. What does this mean? But that's also how you learn as a real estate investor and kind of how as you grow. And guys, let me say this real quick. A couple things here. First, like I'm no expert in real estate by any means. I'm still consider myself a newbie. I'm just giving you guys the things that I've kind of learned, of my 2 small deals I've done. Like, I'm not trying to be like Mr. Real Estate expert over here by any means, because I'm still learning as I go. But when it comes to this spreadsheet and Brad, the kind of numbers you mentioned, and we'll walk through the things, and I'm going to bring it up here on the screen so everyone on YouTube can see it as we walk through it real quick. We do have a Patreon that we have. We have a Discord available through the Patreon, and it's only $1 a month, guys. It's $1. It's less than a cup of coffee. If you guys are interested in joining to support the Average Money podcast, you guys can join the Discord. I'll have this spreadsheet over there available to the Discord. You guys can download it for free once you join in on the Discord. We have conversations over there. We have early live streams that we do where only Discord members come in and chat, ask questions, whatever it may be. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll have a link down below in the show notes if you guys want to check that out. But
JJ, I do want to get, because we did get a super chat from Unboxing 101. So I definitely want to, we will stop the episode for a super chat. He has something that has nothing to do with real estate, but I definitely want to mention, he said, what will happen with my GNOG sell put options with a buyout from DraftKings? To be honest, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know anything about either DraftKings or GNOG. So I can't answer that question. Do you know anything about that? Because I want to pay attention to thank you very much for the super chat, but I honestly can't speak intelligently about it.
So this happened to me on one of my moves. I can't remember what it was. It was a while ago too. Like honestly, maybe a year and a half ago. But everything should transfer over to the new ticker symbol. Go ahead.
Oh, so are you saying, all right. So let me catch it. So GNOG was bought by DraftKings?
Correct.
The broker is going to freeze that. Nothing's going to be able to done. The value is going to freeze right now, and they're going to take that out. I didn't know what that really was, but yes, for your option, if you hold an option and there's a buyout or a stock split or a company goes out of business, it's going to pause it. It's going to bring those together, and the number's going to seem wacky while that transition happens, and then it's going to go back to normal. And then it's going to be prorated to wherever you were right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and Aaron put a good link in there. Yeah. Technically, nothing really to worry about. If anything, sometimes a merger is a good thing. So if you have a put option, unless you bought a put option, but if you sold a put option, usually with mergers, the price goes up of the share because the company acquiring them is usually a little bit bigger, and it usually adds more value to that company. So that's usually good for put options.
Yes, definitely.
The Average Money REIT, that needs to happen. Daryl, there's an Average Money Facebook page. Yes, there is. And guys, the Patreon page, like being $1 and all that, like we have the episodes, we have things in there. JJ and I are in there. Mm-hmm. The $1, it used to be $5.
Yeah.
But we brought it back to $1 because we said we don't
we just want to give.
We made it $5 because people were like, I want to give you, before we were able to do super chats and stuff, they were like, I want to donate to the channel. Like, how do I do it? So I made it $5.
Yeah.
But now we have things like this. I was like, let's just make it $1 because keeping $1 keeps the spammers out of there. And I've mentioned this before. If Discord is very spammy, if you don't have that's like our barrier to entry. $1 is the barrier to entry. But yes, Facebook's also free. I hate Facebook because it's so disorganized. The way they sort things. And in the Discord, we can link all the stuff. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely thank you so much for the question, but I hope we answered it. And I don't think you have really anything to worry about. But JJ, you said that you want to bring that up, and I made you the host, so you can definitely share that. I'm going to edit all this out. So everybody listening, speaking of which, if you're in the live stream, you should go back and you'll see how much shit that I edit
no doubt.
out of the one that goes to Spotify. And Spotify has now become our number one listen, like Apple podcast is going down. Spotify is our number one platform that's used. But I definitely want to get into Joe Gilly's been rowing this whole time. He's 7.5 meters in. Get to 10K, bro. When you get to 10K, we'll cheers to you. I'm gonna have to go for a beer in a second, but bring up that spreadsheet and start talking about, I know the first couple, because I definitely need to go run a beer because
I got this for a while.
Drinking like a champion. Bring up that spreadsheet and talk about the numbers. And remember, a lot of people are listening at home, but I know the first couple, if you get to CapEx, because I want to ask you so many questions.
Just hurry up and go.
Start talking about, all right. So guys, there's another thing you don't say. because I'm going to edit. I wrote down the last thing JJ said so that way I can seamlessly bring this in. The last thing you said. So you're like, so I'm going to bring this up for anybody that's not in the YouTube, and you can kind of just play it in from there. As you said, I think you were like, as far as the numbers you were talking about, Brad, I can bring up my spreadsheet. So go from there.
Okay. So here's my spreadsheet, and these are the exact numbers that I'm using for my my second deal that I'm currently under contract for. Now, this is nothing fancy, but guys, to be honest, it gets the job done. And like I mentioned, if you guys want access to the spreadsheet, you can get it. You can download it in the Discord. Just join the Patreon. Like I said, it's only $1 a month, and it helps support the podcast. Less than a cup of coffee. So let's run through this real quick. I'll show you guys kind of each line item, what I'm thinking about when I'm doing this, when I'm filling this stuff out. First and foremost, to give you guys a kind of an understanding here for those YouTubers that are watching right now, or everyone on YouTube that's watching. These grayed out boxes right here, these are formulas. As you can see up here, there's a formula in there, so I never touch these formulas. That's always a consistent. I may change this to like a 0.20. That's changing the down payment, but overall, I keep it at 25%. All of the white boxes are boxes that means I need to fill out. That's me needing to go in there and fill something out. And then the highlighted boxes are the main things that I want to look for. And then I have my criteria over here, the $150 or more, or 10 to 12%. So let's start at the very top. Purchase price, $135,000. That's what my property, that's the offer that I made. I think they listed it at $134,900. This is what I do every listing I look at. I run through the spreadsheet. I type everything out. I look at the property tax. You can usually estimate within $150 of what the insurance is going to cost. I have a pretty good.
I can't see it.
It's up. It's up right now.
I'm looking at the live. I don't see it.
Well, you can see it. It's because it's on your end. If you look at the chat, or if you look at the actual YouTube video, it's up.
I'm looking at it.
So am I. Trust me. I mean, hang on. I'll turn it on this one. Hang on 1 second. Stand by, guys.
Tell us in the chat. Can you see a spreadsheet? Am I that delayed? Jay, I'm sorry. I might be that delayed.
It's all right. I'm just looking.
Our heart is growing.
You're right. Sorry, go back.
Dick.
I'm an asshole. I'm sorry.
You can see it, can't you?
Yes, I'm an asshole. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't live. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Where am I at here? 135,000.
He said what? Oswald just said 135K. What the hell? Don't tell anyone. So you're somewhere
I
there.
I got it.
And Brian Hunt said, "Oh my God, $50. We're never gonna get off this live stream."
Oh, Brian, we're gonna have some fun. This episode's almost over.
No. Oh, after this?
I'm ready, dude. I'm ready to party.
Dude, I just brought down 10, 11, and 12.
Well, let's go, bud. Okay, let me get through the spreadsheet. We'll do a quick talk, and then Brian's ready to have some fun tonight.
We'll bring him in post hours. We might have to unlist
There we
this.
go. That'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So the asking price was $134,900, and from knowing a couple things about the property, looking at it, knowing the AC and stuff like that was, original, I felt comfortable going in at asking. As we all know, the market is absolutely crazy right now. Usually I'm going over asking, but the market is starting to slow down a little bit in Kansas City. So I just went full asking offer, 25% down, 30-year fixed loan, and I got the offer approved. I did beat out two other offers. Excuse me. So usually for Missouri, the estimated closing cost is around $4,000 to $5,000. So I always have $4,500 in here, and that's usually including my escrow, like upfront payments that I have to pay for my property tax and my property insurance. So $4,500 will usually cover that. Estimated rehab costs, this is just for if I know I need to go in and make any major or minor repairs, if I'm redoing flooring, paint, if I got to fix a sink, if I got to fix a door, if there's a whole wall that's getting smashed down, whatever it may be, I know I need to account for that in here because this affects my cash-on-cash return because I account this as cash coming out of my pocket. So this estimated total cash down here, that's adding up all of these down. That's adding up the down payment, the closing costs, and the rehab costs. So that's giving me a estimated total cash down of $39,250.
Jay?
So then
How does Jay? I'm sorry to interrupt you. How does one estimate closing costs? Did you learn that? Is there somewhere you can Google that? Because when
yeah,
I just tried to refi my mortgage, it was 20K. If somebody doesn't live in the Missouri area, like, is that something you Google? How do you estimate something like closing costs? Is
call
that
them,
something you just Google?
call a mortgage lender.
Okay.
Call a mortgage lender in your area or whatever area that you're looking to invest, and then say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy this property," and it'll probably come from somebody who you're getting your pre-approval loan from, because you're probably going to need a pre-approval to make an offer with if you are looking to get a loan. You can have that conversation with that lender, and they should give you that upfront cost. Say, "Hey, I need an estimate of what my total estimated closing cost is going to be." And you don't want just their loan origination fees. You need loan fees, you need title estimated fees, you need appraisal fees, you need the fees that are going to cost for you to put your, upfront payments into escrow, meaning insurance and taxes. Because if you don't account for that, that's cash coming out of your pocket that's going to hit your return on that first year of owning that property. So it's very important to understand that amount of closing costs and what that's going to cost you.
Bryce says good rule of thumb, 1.5 to 2% on closing costs. Did that work out in your spreadsheet?
Yeah.
That'd be a great rule of thumb. That would
Yeah.
be a lot easier, right?
Yeah.
So 1.5 to 2%.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. There you
All
go.
right. Move on. So
Yep.
now you know how much you got to put down.
So estimated total cash downs, let's call it 40 grand. My mortgage,
You got to share again.
it's coming. My mortgage length is 30 years. I always do a 30-year loan. It just makes my overall mortgage payments a little less, because I could do a 15-year and pay it off in 15 years. But I like to say I would rather have the option to not pay it off faster and just recoup more cash flow coming in every single month, and then just kind of leave it at that. So if I want to choose to pay the mortgage off earlier, I kind of let that be up to me.
Somebody else is paying your mortgage.
Absolutely. This whole mortgage is paid by somebody else. This is not money coming out of my pocket.
And the interest. Like, it's not like when you get a primary, you're like, shit, I'm gonna have to pay double for my house. You're thinking to yourself, let them pay the interest as well. So that's why you're doing 30, where I think we're on the same page on a primary residence. We're going to try and go 15.
Absolutely. Yes. 100% agree. If I'm going to a primary, I'm doing 15. If I have somebody else paying my mortgage for me, I'm doing 30.
Right. Okay.
So interest rate I got was 3.99. That was from my mortgage lender when I got pre-approved, and we locked that rate in whenever we got under contract. So my rent. This is probably the trickiest box out of every single one of these here, and that is because, one, rents are always changing. Two, you have to know your market rents, and you have to know what you can kind of expect in the market that you're investing in. Luckily for me, I have a property manager that manages all my properties, and I can call her. I can text her any time of day, but I usually try to call her during business hours. But she told me, she's like, "Hey, if you find a deal that you need, a quick answer on, text me, and if I can get to you, then I'll get to you." So I got on the phone with Teresa, my property manager, and we talked about the property. She looks at it. She kind of knows all the areas like the back of her hand. And we came up with a decent rent of $12.75. Now, whenever I first ran these numbers, I ran it at like $10.50. And if I plug in $10.50 here real quick, you can see the monthly cash flow update to what it would be at $10.50. And that's kind of like, that was my conservative worst case scenario. And and Brad, you know this, I always shoot numbers either way low on that side, or if
you're conservative.
I'm very conservative. So she told me $12.75. I was like, oh, jackpot, I got this baby. So my mortgage, automatically this calculates $482.80 with the down payment, the total purchase price, interest rate, all that taken into account for. Property tax and insurance. Property tax you can usually find just on Zillow. Insurance, I have a pretty good guy I can call up, but I know roughly what these homes are going to go for. Like I said, I can usually guess within $100 and $150 of what my insurance is going to cost. So that's
just knowing your area. That's just knowing your area. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. That's for
and
sure.
Research. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So $800 is what I roughly kind of imagine this to go for. So then this gets it down to the, per month basis. It does have an HOA fee. So with that, this townhouse I purchased has the HOA fee of $70. Now the $70 covers lawn care, it covers roof, and it covers maintenance on the exterior, siding, and anything like that happens on the outside. So with that, I didn't have any expenses coming out for lawn because HOA is included in that. And then my
Right.
vacancy, repair, and maintenance and capex, all of that, I usually just plug in like 150 right here. That's usually what I do. But since this HOA is covering all of my exterior my exterior siding, my roofing, my gutters, all that stuff, I knocked my vacancy, repairs, and capex down to $100 because that $70 is already going towards my complete exterior maintenance issues that I may have in the future. So I felt comfortable lowering that $150 that I usually take out on all of my properties when I'm analyzing a property. So I lowered it to 100. My PM, she charges me 8% per month, or 8% per rent for
Okay.
that month for her.
Is that pretty standard, 8%?
8 to 10%. I'd say 8 to
Okay.
12% is what you can expect. 10% is kind of like right down the middle. So after all that's said and done, the spreadsheet calculates my monthly cash flow, and I'm coming up with $361. I like to see $150 or more per door. Now here's the thing, guys. So I keep all of my cash that I get from my rental properties in a different bank account from like personal and business stuff. It has its own little checking account. And the reason I do that is because I can kind of get an idea of what I'm making per year, how the account's growing, because I don't spend any money of this for my rental properties except to kind of further advance the business. I pay for my inspections, I pay my earnest money all out of this real estate banking account.
Right.
So what I do is I know I have enough cash in this account to cover all my major expenses. If I need a new roof, I need a new AC, and anything. So this is like kind of like my true down to the wire, monthly cash flow, 361. But I know from owning my first rental property, like honestly, 70-80% of the time, I don't have any maintenance issues. They just get my check, I pay my property manager, that's the only expense I have for the month. So I like to knock this vacancy, repairs, and CapEx money out just to see where I'm at. I like to get an idea. So this may be my true cash flow, on a monthly basis whenever I don't have any maintenance issues, which like I said, for my first one, was not very often. So this, and to be honest, this second unit is way nicer and way newer than my first rental property. So this is almost $500 every single month that I'm going to be getting paid straight to my bank account. This is after all expenses are paid, $461.87 to be exact. So call it $460. $460 shows up to my bank account.
Beautiful.
Just for owning this property, just for putting $40,000 down.
I got two questions. I got two questions for you though.
Go ahead.
Somebody asked in the chat, is there ever a time to mess with variable or adjustable rates, or are you always looking fixed?
That's a very good question.
I feel like I always want to go. I've had student loans that were variable, and I was like, sounds great. And then even if it like goes up and goes down, it was too stressful for me. I'd rather just know. I'd rather just know what it's going to be.
I'll say this. I would possibly take a variable rate if I knew my exit strategy.
Okay.
And it also would be a very small loan. It'd be something that I knew I could get myself out of if shit hit the fan and we spike up to 9% interest rates.
It'd kind of be like if you were on like margin or something.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
So for instance, my HELOC, I have a cap. My HELOC is a varied rate, but I have a cap on my HELOC that it can only go up to like plus 5% over the 10-year span or whatever of my HELOC.
Right.
So I just account for the worst. This may be way over conservative, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to assume I'm going to have an 8 to 9% interest rate on this property. Let's say worst case scenario, interest rates spike, I go up to the 9%. What am I going to be looking like on this deal? And then I kind of play that scenario in my head. I look at the papers, look at the numbers, and I say, okay, I may lose $100 a month until I can get this thing refinanced or whatever it may be. But I have a game plan for my HELOC. If I do a HELOC to get a deal, I'll just refinance it 6 months down the road, pull out of my HELOC, get my equity back on my home, and then just kind of leave it at that. If I do a property that way, I don't know if I will or not.
I feel like HOA fees, at least when I was growing up, was like taboo. Like when you told people you're looking for a house, you always wanted to avoid things with HOA fees. Are there pros to HOA fees? Like it's not, like I said, it's not that common here in Long Island for play. We don't have that many complexes and communities like that that have HOA fees. We have more like incorporated villages where, like where I used to live in, Brightwaters was a village in the school district or the town of Bayshore that had its own like community fees. When you're looking at things like roof and siding, is that a blessing for an HOA fee, or do you find that in most cases you're going to lose long term paying HOA fees?
I would probably just rather not have an HOA, to be honest, man. You know, when it comes to me being like a personal homeowner, I wouldn't want to live in an HOA area. I like having I don't like people telling me what to do, you know, type thing. But I also don't like having my neighbor having crap and shit all out in their yard. So like there's pros and cons. With an HOA, you can kind of, you know, get away from some of the rift-raft and having people not taking care of their property and having, you know, someone build a shed right on your property line that's falling over and this looks like complete garbage.
Yeah.
You know, those are kind of the pros of HOAs, but then the cons of HOAs too is like, well, maybe I just bought a boat and I want to store it in my driveway. You know, sometimes HOAs will prevent you from doing things like that, or maybe you want to do, you know, you got to ask people permission to do things to your own home. Like that's kind of like pushes me the wrong way. Is like I don't want to have to ask you to do something. If I want to do something at my home, I'm gonna do it.
The place I used to live, that it was $1,000 a year, so a little less than $100 a month. And my friends thought I was freaking crazy, and mostly because the village wasn't anything special. But I'll tell you this: if the people closest to me know how much a gas powered leaf blower makes me go ballistic, the town I used to live in, the incorporated village of Brightwaters, there were no leaf blowers or lawn mowers, no nothing that can be turned on the weekends. And you would get a $100 fine, and they would come back every 15 minutes and keep giving you fines.
Oh my.
So if you worked like there was times where I mowed my lawn at 10 o'clock on a Friday, like 10 p.m. because I got home from work, went to happy hour, got a little drunk, was having people over on Saturday. I knew that I couldn't wake up early. Now, granted, I probably could have knocked on my neighbor's door and been like, yo, I was out, you know, I need to mow the lawn. I'll do it at 8 in the morning and it'll be done. I'll do it at 10 in the morning and be done. But you didn't want to mess with that because we all had that unspoken rule. And it was so nice, especially as a teacher for me over the summer, to know that, yes, as a teacher, I need to accept the fact that some people have landscapers. And on Tuesday at 8 p.m., there's going to be landscapers. It drives me nuts. I actually pay the guy across the street from me and I pay the guy next door to me not to have landscapers because I don't want to hear it. But when I lived at Brightwaters, it was worth the $900 a year just to know that every Saturday, if you want to have a barbecue on Saturday, at 1 o'clock, there wasn't going to be that late landscaper that showed up because it rained on Thursday, Friday. They couldn't make it. And then it's like, I hated that so much.
Yeah.
So I guess in HOA fees, like, yeah, you don't have to worry about having a little bit of a cray.
Yeah.
around.
There's good and bads for both of them, in my opinion.
Yeah. And there's pros and cons too. Like Bryce mentioned, like, especially on Airbnb properties, like long distance, when you have an HOA fee, you don't have to worry about too many things going that wrong because of it.
Yeah. So sometimes too, though, with an HOA, they're very picky and choosy. You know, they may say, "Oh, I'll cover exterior and roofing, but I'm not going to cover the trimming around the windows. I'm not going to cover your windows. I'm not going to cover the stuff that goes underneath your foundation. I'm not going to cover the stuff under." You got to look at your HOA documents, which is what we're digging into right now, to see the exact details of what all my HOA is going to cover, which is going to help for my insurance guy to kind of go through and say what my, you know, monthly rate's going to be and everything like that. So
because that board might be screwing you over.
Yeah, absolutely.
They might be like, "Oh yeah, HOA fees, we cover. Don't turn your house yellow.
Yeah,
don't pay your house yellow."
Yeah, so look through the documents. You know, you don't ever trust what someone says. You need to see it on paper, and that goes for anything.
As somebody that doesn't really know that much, and I'm asking you, are cliche things that we hear in real estate, especially if we're big fans of bigger pockets like we are, is like the 1% rule. Like, what are some general rules of thumb? Like price per door, like what are some things? Are there any general basic rules that you look at that if it doesn't meet this criteria, we are not going to go this route?
Well, I would say it used to be 1% rule, but right now in today's market, that's kind of like unheard of. I mean, yeah, there still can be 1% rule deals being found, but it's very tough. So real quick, 1% rule means if you buy $100,000 property, you want that property to rent out for at least $100,000. So you want your monthly rent to be 1% of the total purchase price. That's kind of what the 1% rule means.
Right.
That's a very good, quick analogy that you or analysis that you can do in your head. When you're looking at a property. If I'm looking at this $135,000 property, I could say, oh, 1% rule. It'd be $1,350. I need to rent this out for. Can I do that or not? Yay, nay, cool. I'll go on to the next one. But you always got to dig into the trench. You got to dig into the details a little more because look, I could look at the 1% rule and be like, oh, I can't rent out this townhome for $1,350, but I can rent out for $275. But it's not the 1% rule. I need to back out a little bit, and then I just missed out on almost $400 in cash flow. So like those are good like entries and like things to look at, but whatever.
I know I keep bringing up Bryce, but he has a lot of experience, and I almost wish he was in on this episode, which is why we have to have him on again. He said 15% plus a cash on cash equal to $250 plus or more per door. Those are his minimums.
The guy also lives in Idaho, by the way.
Idaho Falls. It's beautiful there.
Yeah, and the market out there is amazing. Those are solid numbers. Those are very.
And he has a
numbers.
great. And he could stop me if I'm wrong, but I feel like somebody that lives so far away from that, like Jackson Hole and that whole area is so iconic to us. And Yosemite, Yosemite's far. I'm sorry, wrong national park. The Tetons are there. But there's a lot of Airbnb potential in Idaho Falls because my uncle is in Boise, and I'm like, Sean, why don't you have all this amazing opportunity that the east side of your state has? And he's like, because I'm in Boise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the market you live in, but see, you can't make that as an excuse too, though. Either like you can like for instance, I'm investing in Kansas City, that's 4 hours away from me.
My hard money loan was in West Virginia.
Yeah, you just gotta.
I'm on Long Island. Yeah,
you gotta build connections. You gotta find a team, and if that means you need to spend a couple $100s to make a flight out there and go interview 4 or 5 different property managers and 4 or 5 different realtors and get your team started that way, then so be it. Do it.
It's a write-off.
Yep, absolutely. It is a write-off. When you go to get that income from your rental property that you purchased that year, all that money that you spent on that rental property goes straight towards that, and that's a write-off.
Amen, brother. Well, are we going to get one?
We will. Absolutely. But see, here's the problem, man. Those bigger deals are so harder to find in Kansas City. A duplex, triplex, fourplex, they're very, very rare compared to like a simple single family house. But, we kind of talked about that. We said the problem is, though, dude, like these single family homes that, you'll cash flow 150, 250, 350, 400 a month. We're doing that in a week in our Fidelity account from writing up covered calls and cash secured puts.
We didn't even touch upon that. That's the phone call we had because I was stressing out because I'm jonesing because I never had one. Like the hard money thing is great. Like I give money, give $100,000 to a guy and he gives me some money back.
But great. It's nice owning that property.
That's kind of like what Bryce is saying. Like I don't have a door goal except for one. Like I just want to have, I want a door. Like I want to have one door, but then we're like, shit, man, we put $40,000 into Fidelity and just started trading pretty conservative basic options using the wheel strategy. The same things we talk about in the course. And we're up $1,000 or so in 3 weeks on $40,000.
Yeah. And it'll probably be more than that by the end of this week. So
oh my God.
It's one of those things, dude. We'll find one. I do want average money to own a property.
Why is it the best, or what'd you call it? You titled this podcast. Why is this the best? Do you say the best way to achieve financial independence or the easiest? What'd you say?
I think the easiest or quickest way to reach financial freedom. So for a few reasons. First one, obviously, as most of us know, is you can leverage your money. I can go leverage my money to go buy a property, and that's going to pay me in cash flow. And we just talked about with my spreadsheet. If I go spend $30,000 or $40,000 and then recoup $400 in cash flow every single month, there's no dividend stock out there that's going to do that for you. I'm sorry, there's not. So that's my hatred for the dividend stock is like the wheel, and like the video I just made where people are still hating on is like, I think that the covered call is way more powerful than the dividend.
But now we're getting into another episode.
Yeah. So that's the
we're
first.
just looking. We're hustling, man. We're looking for ways.
Well, that's the first thing, though.
We're not hustling to be like because we want to be better. We're hustling to that freedom.
Absolutely. Well, that's the first thing, though, man, is that you can leverage your money to do that. And
my buddy next door goes, JJ's coming back? Wasn't he just here? I'm like, first off, dude's my best friend. When last time you saw your best friend? Second off, since September when we started this podcast, we went from never seeing each other, and you came in December, you came in February, you came in April, you
came here in whatever it was.
February. I came there February, and it was awesome. And I said to him, he's coming back here, because there is no better feeling in the world than spending time with like-minded individuals. I'm sure there's people in the chat that was like, don't you wish we could all live on the same cul-de-sac?
Yeah.
And I hear Mr. Money Mustache talk about this all the time. Like, and that's kind of what Longmont is right now. It's all the same people live in the same cul-de-sac. Not because we could sit around and brag to each other, but because we could throw so many freaking ideas. Like even the things that I've read in the chat, and I'm going to go back and read them again. There's stuff you miss. There's stuff you don't know. And that's what the podcast is about, right? We learned stuff today. I'm going to go back to the chat. I learned stuff today. You learned stuff today. It's 1 year in, man. One year. I've been drinking. I might get a little emo, but I'm serious. I'm at a loss for words. I'm never at a loss for words, but
no, you're not.
It's insane to me that I think about all the things that I want, and like, it's awesome, bro.
I just think about what the next year is going to bring with the average money community. Like this. Think about the cool people we've already talked to and met, and from people in the Discord and the stories we've heard, and it's so cool to think about what another year of word of mouth getting out about average money community and kind of the people that it brings. Like, it's people that we like to talk to. It's our people. You know what I mean? We like what we like. I don't know, dude. It's just so cool. Brad, let me finish this up real quick, and then you can sign us off, and then we'll have some fun in the little after chat, and we may have to unlist this thing. Who knows what's going to happen tonight.
We're unlisting this one.
But no, I mentioned, leveraging money and getting the cash flow for, a smaller amount of value versus like a dividend stock or something like that. But not only that, you make a lot of money when you invest in real estate. You also make money from principal paydown. As we talked about earlier, whenever you have your tenants paying your loan, those tenants are paying that mortgage for you. Every time that mortgage is paid, that's a smaller amount that you owe on that property, which in return is equity that you own in that property, which is in return increasing your overall net worth. So principal paydown is one. Cash flow, like we've talked about this whole episode, cash flow is, money coming in from after all expenses are paid. That's money that gets directly put into your account. Can't beat it. The next one is appreciation. Appreciation is going up every single year in properties. You'll have your downturns every now and then, but the cool thing is you will have appreciation happening in your properties. It's going to also boost up that equity position that you own from that single property. It's the power of real estate. It's so crazy how much money can be made so fast in real estate. That's why I think it's hands down the quickest way to become financially free is by investing in real estate.
Guys, thanks so much. I hope this wasn't your first episode, but if it is, thank you so much for listening. Join us, because I'm sure what you're listening to, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, it's been edited down from a very, very long, fun live stream. Hop over to the Average Money Podcast over on YouTube. We are going to live stream pretty much every Wednesday, because for the last 6 weeks, it's been awesome. Check out the Average Money merch. We're going to leave everything in the description. People tonight in the chat, we're not preaching ourselves, said one of the most comfortable shirts they've ever owned. I don't personally own that. You can get on the free Facebook chat. It's super disorganized, but we'll be there. We definitely spend most of our days and most of our times in the Discord. If you're new to Discord, just try it out, man. Try it. Discord will change your mind. Like the first time you heard about Instagram and you didn't want to join, and then when you got on, it was awesome, or TikTok or whatever it is.
And you get the early live streams.
And you get an early live stream. We're on for a half hour before that. And I can't, oh my gosh. I'm going to have to edit that out. Hold on. Jesus Christ.
Brian's the boss, dude.
Oh, let me finish this freaking podcast. Hold on. We're not really sure when this is actually going to come out calendar wise. I'll probably be back at work teaching, and my summer days will be long from over. but we're happy, we're healthy, we're looking to build the team. If you are a freelance writer and want to write some blogs for us, if you have ways that you can build this podcast, JJ and I can be the face or the voices or whatever, but honestly, looking forward, we want to be sitting around with 20 to 30 people in a couple years, a year or 6 months. And we want to be talking about how this is a complete joke with a bunch of people that were like-minded that want to get to the same place as us. And here we are, man. So thanks so much. We'll be back. We're getting ready to wrap up one full year of the Average Money Podcast. Maybe we'll start season 2 or just keep counting them up. Thank you so much, guys. And until we catch